Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
And we're not in the stream because this is a professional podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What can we tell you? We are the Other Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation, allegedly, of alliance-wrestling.com, at least until Jay finds out that we don't really know what we're doing. My name is Tim. His name is Jeremy. His name is Dave. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, good. Been a good week?
Good.
Yeah.
Resting up from a long drive.
Yeah, it has been a long drive. You were down, well, not really down, but over in Chicago for the big pay-per-view.
Yep.
Yeah.
20-plus hour round-trip drive.
Wow. That's more than
I'm going to say it was worth it just because I like wrestling, and we'll stop there.
Appreciate the honesty.
That is fair. Well, what do we got tonight? We're going to look at NWA 312, the first half of that pay-per-view. I am rounding second and headed for third on the basis for Alliance Blog podcast this week. So this is 2 of 3 for me. The other half of the pay-per-view, I'll talk with DK and Jaden tomorrow on the original Alliance Guys as I'm pinch hitting for J. Cal. So we'll just look at the first half of the pay-per-view. Then Jeremy's going to give us some championship wrestling from Jeremy. You got some Derby City action this week.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, it was pretty decent. I liked it. Hey, just say it now. Better than the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I tell you. Yeah.
Yep.
And in our I Respect You Bookerman segment, Dave's going to talk about what surprise teams might show up for the Crockett Cup. That'll be interesting. Very interesting. So listen, let's get into it. Let's just go right into it this week. We got NWA 312 to talk about. This was on a Friday night, which really screwed me up. I like my pay-per-views on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday. And I guess, guys, like we kind of talked a little bit before the show on this, some of the things, the overall arching effect of the pay-per-view for me, I thought really dampened my enjoyment of it. And I haven't been able to decide, well, was it just the pay-per-view that I thought was just okay, maybe at best, or was it part of the whole series of problems that they had? And, there was the stream went down. I missed about 2.5 matches, which I was able to piece little bits of together when the stream allegedly came back, but didn't really. I thought the lighting was bad. I thought the sound was bad. I couldn't find a word for this, but the arena, which Dave, you called yesterday, kind of like a wedding hall, it didn't seem like a wrestling venue. Like it didn't seem robust. Like I know it was sold out, but it didn't seem like there were a lot of people there. And it made me feel like it was kind of rinky-dink. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Dave, you didn't hate the pay-per-view, and you saw it live. You didn't have a lot of those particular problems to deal with. What were your overall thoughts on it right off before we get into it?
Well, I mean, as a pay-per-view, it wasn't their best, but I understood what they were doing. It's a build to Crockett Cup. It was used to build up some newer tag teams, build up some new rivalries, and intensify other rivalries that nothing really came to an end. They highlighted some new talent. They highlighted some local talent that down the line they may use them. That every place they've gone, like when they were in Tampa, some of the people that were there were then featured on this pay-per-view.
Right.
That they just carried the story over. So basically they're going into these, I'm going to say areas, not a territory, but areas that have some local wrestling. They're partnering up with some local talent and local promotions, using some of their talent. And if things work out, they're moving them along. So they're basically rotating that they have the NWA cast of characters. Then they have guest appearances by these locals that are either enhancement talent and working their way up the ladder, and some are working out and others aren't. And I mean, you saw that with that beast mode guy. Things didn't work out, so they went out and got a new giant.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's one of these things of, if you look at it as, oh, this wasn't a good pay-per-view because of this, and this. It was a pay-per-view to set up another pay-per-view.
Yeah.
This pay-per-view set up the next 6-8 weeks of Power and USA, where they can tell stories to get to the Crockett Cup. And hey, these are the teams that are going to be featured. This is what's happening with your new TV champion. This is what's happening with your female champion. This is what's happening with your heavyweight champion. This is what's happening with your national champion. It was basically, it was a buy.
Yeah.
It wasn't a win or a lose. It was a buy. It just got you to the next step.
Yeah.
It's a ladder taking you from one place to another.
I guess, but I mean, hey, listen, the exchange rate's like 25% from Canada to the US. So, I'm paying close to $50 to watch a buy. It wasn't advertised to that as me.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you watched the stream. What was your thoughts on it overall before we get into it?
How whenever you stay at a hotel and you get on the guest Wi-Fi and you try to watch something on your phone or laptop and it just keeps kind of
choppy.
That felt like watching the pay-per-view. That's how it felt. It felt like I was on guest Wi-Fi trying to watch it, which leads me to believe that they were possibly on guest Wi-Fi trying to stream that out to us. Which
it's possible.
Doesn't hold the bandwidth because every single other person in the crowd was possibly on the guest Wi-Fi. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And it did feel like a buy. Remember when the WWE was putting on a SmackDown and a Raw pay-per-view in the same month in between their big pay-per-views where they would bring them all together? That's kind of what this felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I see what you're saying. Yeah, I get that. And it just, beyond all that, if I was able to look past the video, the audio, the lighting, and just look at the pay-per-view and the venue, then it just didn't have the oomph to me that that you expect, that you hope for when you go to a pay-per-view. It seemed lackluster. I want to say hi to Willie Bowen first in the chat. Dangerous Diana Taylor and Angelina Love were a tag team. They'd be called Damaged Goods. Willie bringing the heat, the high hard heat.
No, they'd be called amoxicillin.
Itchy and scratchy.
Bravo.
Very nicely done. Tyrus has aquaphobia. That's why he doesn't take showers. Willie, the flag bearer to our sheep herders, if you will. We appreciate you, my friend. DK is here, always watching. Look at his handsome face right there, everybody. Eh?
Right.
Isn't that lovely right there?
Hey, look, my granddaughter, every time I wear that shirt, that's that face that she focuses on is DKM's.
Yeah, that's right. Here's Mike. How you doing, buddy?
Hey,
Peekaboo.
Mike.
By the way, the quality still sucks, he says, even on the replay.
I honestly think we got the matches that they could salvage last night for Power.
Oh, maybe that's why we got them. I mean, thank you, Willie. You're very kind. It may be. I mean, I thought that I'm in a business where if we do something wrong or something screws up, we kind of have to make it right. And maybe that's their attempt. But I would also, in my business, explain that this is the attempt that I'm making.
Yeah.
And we didn't get that.
Yep.
I thought last night. But whatever. It's all, it is what it is. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Dave Scooby, right down on the right of the hard cam, so to speak. Studio One in Highland Park, Illinois. The pre-show for the first half of this deal, we got Natalia Markova versus the newcomer La Brava Escobar, who they have had one match already, who came out with CJ.
Yeah.
And they explained that Escobar lost some teeth last time that they met. So to try to give you some reason maybe as to why they're doing this again, or that she's buddies with CJ, I don't know. In this match, CJ ends up interfering, so to speak, and La Brava almost wins it, but she ends up eating the beautiful destruction.
Yeah.
Hell of a kick in the corner. Jeremy, what'd you think? The opening match.
I enjoyed this match. I wasn't big on Markova when she first came in, but she has continued to impress me with her match styles. She is very hard hitting, a very strong style, I would say, and she's been matched up with people that can take that and deliver it back. And Escobar was a great competitor to pair her up against again.
Yeah, it was pretty physical. Yeah,
very physical. Great addition to the NWA if she is getting to stick around. The women's division needs more depth, so this was a good addition. And like I said, if she sticks around, in a really good, solid match.
Yeah, I agree. What did you think, Dave?
Well, like Jeremy said, very hard hitting match. La Brava is a good add to the NWA roster. She was at the tapings, so that's what they need. They need some experience. It may not be a name that you know, but I never knew who Natalia Markova was before I saw her.
Right.
Half the ladies that you see on the NWA, they're good in their own right. They may be good at a low level, but they're not big name talent. But we don't need big name talent. We just need talent that can go.
Yep.
And both of these ladies put on one hell of a show, and at the tapings, they continued. This story isn't finished.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Actually, Dave provided me with something. Not that we needed it there, but where is that thing? Here it is. In case it needs to come up, and Dave will signal us the spoiler alert segment for you to mute your audios because Dave wants to let us know something. So we'll keep that in mind. You know what? I felt it's a great point. We didn't know who Markova was before she showed up. And now we like her so much. Like Willie says, she could be the NWA television champion.
Yeah.
I feel like she could be NWA, women's world champion if it weren't for the one-time Camille. One time. Who's totally deserving is what I mean by that comment.
Yeah, yeah.
But I did feel a little bad that, she was on the pre-show and not the pay-per-view. She's just done so much in the NWA and in her time. I thought it would have been nice for her to be on the pay-per-view, but hey.
It got the crowd into it at the beginning, though. It was a very good opening match to start out with. To get them fired up, that's a good way to do it.
Yep. We watching the stream, so you see that it's Joe and Tim tonight. No Velvet. She's not there. Follow Velvet on social media. She had a sick cat that hopefully has done well. But she wasn't going to make it to the event. I assume she doesn't make it to the tapings, Dave?
No, she's not there at all.
Yeah, okay.
Spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, there were some camera and some sound issues right off the bat, too, but that's what pre-shows are for, and all is forgiven in the pre-show, I think. But then they go immediately to the Country Gentlemen defending the United States Tag Team Championship against the Savages. Chris Silvio with Blake Bulletproof Troop and the Dane event, Jack Stain.
The Megalodane.
The Megalodane. Yeah. He has some great names.
Great name.
Yeah. He used to be Godzilla Jack Stain back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I had forgotten until just now, Danny Deals was the one who brought Dane back to the NWA. Do you remember that?
Yep.
When he came out as he pretended to be Tim Storm's mom, Mama Storm?
That's right.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's funny. But anyway, the Savages jumpstart this. They work Andrews for a fair bit of time, pretty hard. Kazana, even after the hot tag, doesn't fare any better. Andrews does make a go in this match. Troop nearly makes him tap in one of those spinning leg locks that I would need Joe Rogan to explain to me.
Yeah.
But at one point during a comeback by the gentleman, Chris Silvio pulls out a loaded boot and is ejected. And as he's being ejected, Anthony Andrews rolls up Blake Troop and gets the 3 count as he stacks him. Jeremy, what'd you think?
I enjoyed this match a lot more than I thought I was going to. Silvio coming in with the loaded boot was good good management play.
Yeah.
Andrews has really begun to impress me and has looked really solid his last few matches that I've watched. And I take back, you're not a shite wrestler, bro.
Nice.
Admit when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
You're not shy. You were just having a bad day, I think. But yeah, I enjoyed the match. I kind of expected the gents to walk away with it, or not the gents, but the Savages to walk away with it.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that the gentleman held on to it. I think it is a smart move to keep it on them give them a good little run with it.
Yeah, I picked the Savages too, and in looking at all of the matches and what I picked, I was about half right, which is good because it means the NWA can still fool me, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Dave, you were right there watching this one live. You got some good pictures of Jack Stain. I don't think he even removed the vest in this match at all.
No.
No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah. What were your thoughts?
I mean, it was a straight ahead good match. It was short. It was just over 6 minutes. But it's one of these things. Troop got taken down and rolled up with a schoolboy. That's about as old school as you can get. It's, I think, telling a story of the Savages need to come together. Troop is a very good MMA fighter.
Yeah.
Like he's just the wrestling thing where he's having to remind himself it's not real.
Right.
That
Yeah.
if he would jump in and actually do mixed martial arts and Muay Thai and everything that he knows, he'd take down just about anybody. But it's one of these things. Both teams were kept strong for the Crockett Cup, but it's one of these things of, if you've noticed, each of the times that the Savages have lost, its troop has gotten distracted and taken down with a simple move.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That just seems to
Uh-oh.
and it is just it's a story that they're telling that down the line they'll finally be on the same page and hopefully take the belts.
Not as bad as it was last week, but you're having some stream problems. Just so you know, that's okay though. I fell out of the feed there a couple of times, but it seemed to help. So maybe maybe I'll I'm gonna pull back and let Dave talk. Yeah, it's funny because recapping it now, I think I might like the pay-per-view better than I thought I did. Maybe it wasn't C+ overall, but we'll figure it out as we go along. It's like one of those things where, have you ever heard your friend tell you about the movie and it just sounded awesome, and then you saw the movie later and it wasn't as good as the story?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
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 All right, we get Mae Valentine in the back with Kenzie and Kylie Page. I don't think Kylie says a word in this. It's a bit weird, why are you even there? But anyway, Kenzie says she's repulsed by Max. She's going to go to the wasteland. She's going to clean it up. They do mention, Jeremy, that the Highland Park Community Foundation benefits with some of the proceeds from tonight, and that's good.
Yeah.
We had a terrible event there 6 or 8 months ago, I guess now at this point, but I don't know. It was a good line by Kenzie. What'd you think of the little segment with Mae?
Mae's gotten so much better at being in control of of those little backstage segments and stuff. And overall, it was a good promo. I think she probably could have swung a little harder, but
Yeah,
I mean, she's still young yet, so there's tons of room for growth. It was what it was.
I think when we did the Alliance Awards last year, and we did the Most Improved Wrestler, that she won by a landslide.
Yeah,
and she just seems to be getting better. Dave, you mentioned that when you were there, you could actually physically, or audibly rather, hear the interview, but there were no screens for you to see what was happening in the arena.
No screens. Yeah, unless you were near the broadcast booth and could hear them, and they'd be like, "Let's throw it back to Mae Valentine with so and so," then you'd hear the audio, but there were no screens in the actual out there for you to actually watch.
Right.
Yeah.
That it's one of these things that if you've ever been to a wrestling, whether it's AEW, WWE, anything that is televised or at least filmed, that they'll sometimes have screens where they'll show it and do a split screen where half's the crowd and half's what's happening backstage. But we're just able to hear what's happening, and all of a sudden it comes out blaring over these speakers, and I'm like, okay. Made me jump just a bit the first time, but got used to it.
It's a bit weird. Somebody had said, maybe it was you yesterday on the pre-party, just have them walk out, do it in front of the whole crowd, right at the podium, like a Kyle Davis thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe next time. Everybody's favorite match comes next, and it's Sal the Pal, or the Salvation, if you will, versus Gags the Gimp. Hair versus mask match. So these guys come out together, strapped together, and Judas is there. There's no James Mitchell for this match. Judas is going to be sort of the enforcer for this match. By the way, very brief note from me here on Judas. I don't know what it's like, if it's just the haircut and like the different clothing or whatever, and the fact they're letting him talk, but he's 50% more interesting than he's been since he ever came to the NWA.
Yep.
So
100%.
here's
Yes.
the best part of this. So they're forced into the ring, and immediately there's a super kick from Sal. It looked great.
Yeah.
It's over, but it isn't. Gags ends up kicking out of him when he sits on him. And it kind of breaks down as you might expect from there. Gags wants to be strapped. He loves pain. Again, it's like, what a stupid mess this is, but Judas is pretty okay throughout it. Sal's an excellent wrestler, and so is the guy under the Gags match or mask. But there's not too much of interest here in this thing for me. The story is that Gags doesn't want to strap Sal after being smashed a lot with it himself. He finally comes around. This goes on way too long for me. Lots of whipping. Gags hits the Gags reflex. I can't believe I just said that out loud. For a 2 count, he does the zipper. The tongue comes out, and Sal bites it. Hits one of his moves for a 2 count. Judas shows a bag on the outside, and we only hear about it. We don't see it, but it's distracted. It distracts Sal. We learn later it's the Clippers. And he is pinned after the sliced bread number 2, because I'm not calling it what Gags calls it. Anyway, Gags doesn't want to cut his buddy Sal's hair. The Clippers are out of the bag, and the crowd, well, Dave, the crowd seemed to be like they wanted that haircut.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Gags kind of does a little bit as Judas demands that this is done. Sal just takes the Clippers after a while and starts doing it himself. I bet you it was because, like you always hear about in these hair matches, that someone's getting scalped and they're just like, screw it, I'll do it, buddy. Thank you so much. Yep. And then afterwards, at the end, when part of Sal's hair is off, not much, Judas demands that they both kneel, which they do, and kiss his boots because the father demands it. They think about it for a bit, and then they roll out together and leave, and nobody cares. Jeremy, what did you think?
At one point, and I put this in our Discord, the phrase, "Oh my God, he's going to take his nipples off with the strap,"
God, I forgot. You put that back in my brain.
was said by Joe Galley.
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Why?
Because he gets excited in the moment and he forgets what he's saying.
God, doesn't he, though? God love him, man. He gets so hype, and
Nipples and wrestling hand in hand.
yeah, it popped me when he said it. I immediately after after my pop was over, I was like, "Really, bro? Really?" But it did pop me, I mean, the match was what it was. I am a lot more interested in Judas now than I have been at any other point that he's been in the NWA. I just kind of wish that if they were possibly going to if this is possibly turning on Father James and Judas, that we wouldn't have seen a horrible match after a beautiful, just big boot to the face,
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
It could have just been over right. They could have just he could have taken the boot and then been like, "I'm sorry," and then looked at Judas and be like, I'm out. We're done. No, we're not doing this to each other.
Yeah. I mean, it felt like they listened when we all, and I don't mean just us, but like the NWA community complained about ?2, and he just went away.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I felt like this could have just ended it right here.
Yeah.
But as they end up announcing Crockett Cup later, Dave, I realized kind of at this point, oh, are they doing Crockett Cup next time? Is this why they're making a Gags and Sal tag team? I don't know. What did you think when this was going on?
I mean, strap match. I knew, okay, they're going to do all the stuff. I mean, it's Gags the Gimp. He likes being slapped. It's a match that could have been cut by maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and it would have improved the match. But I mean, they did have some decent spots in it, and I mean, they were both selling very well for each other.
Yeah.
And this story goes into the tapings, and not going to give spoilers, but looking ahead, it's going to be very interesting at Crockett Cup. And Sal looks very different with no hair. I was so shocked. I didn't even get a picture of him when he came out. I was just like, wow. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, I look forward to that. We will hear that the Crockett Cup is announced. Listen, these are two guys who are very talented. We say that all the time.
Yeah.
Who just don't have much to work with here, in my particular opinion, and their match wasn't good because they're not terrible, but anything like a strap match immediately almost that is going to be the drizzling shits and right off the bat, like I just don't think they had the tools to work with here at any level. May Valentine with Bully Ray, and he does a segment where he says, Tom's been around a long time, and he's always told him he has all this potential that hasn't been realized, Jeremy, in the NWA. Not really, not to the level what Tom deserves, but he knows Tom's weakness, and he's going to blow him up mentally. And it's why he's not the world's heavyweight champion. And he's going to make Tom Latimer blow up mentally. And that's how he's going to get into his head. He's going to win this thing tonight. What did you think?
Wasn't that all the same shit that EC3 said too?
Are you suggesting me that that Bully Ray is EC3 off of Wish?
Oh, by no means. God, no.
Yeah.
But I
Other way
mean,
around?
we've heard this before. We heard this from EC3. I'm going to get into your head, brother. Come on, man. Move on to something else. I'm going to whoop your ass. I am Bully fucking Ray. I am going to whoop your ass.
Right.
Enough said.
Right. He can take fairly nothing though, and sometimes make it compelling because he's a good talker, which is always surprising because, for me, before I went away from wrestling for 20 years, he was the guy who would, powerbomb Mae Young off of something into something else and then sit there and kind of stare off into space like he was a mental case. But he's turned out pretty good overall. Hey, James Bell. Hey, James. Bully Ray did EC3 in one match that EC3 couldn't complete in over multiple matches. Yeah, so fair, maybe fair.
Very true.
Dave, you drove 10 hours for this. You didn't get to see it live, but you heard it audibly. What did you think about Bully Ray? I think this was the one where he said, "Do you know who I am? Of course you know who I am." What did you think of the segment with me?
I thought it was good. I mean, he got his point across, and it's short storytelling. You didn't have to drag it out. He basically said what he's going to do, and then later in the night made a point of getting in Tom's head even more.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. It's a storyline, and Bully's very good at doing what he does. He's not the stuttering, taped up glasses guy anymore. He can wrestle still, but he likes playing more of a mind game than a physical game.
Yeah, I would say that this is my note from it was that this segment, as you know, maybe B plusy as it was, the little promo was better than how their match turned out. And we're not going to cover their match tonight. We're going to do that one tomorrow night, but because it comes later. But you know, their match, which started off as kind of an exhibition style match between two guys who respect each other but want to win, ended up going in the shitter. You know, because it basically stopped. But anyway, we hear then that the Crockett Cup officially, we get it, has been announced for June 3rd in North Carolina. I feel like this is the right town for the right state for the Crockett Cup to be in. And I know that Dave's going to talk about it. You excited for the Crockett Cup, Jeremy?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know, a couple weeks back, I think it was, we were talking about when they could possibly do it with their tour coming up in Australia, and then they've got a North American thing going on and Canada now. So we were, you know, it's nice to see confirmation that yes, we are getting a 2023 Crockett Cup, and it's just right down the road now.
Yeah, that's right. You know, Dave, I know you're going to talk about the Crockett Cup in a bit and who might appear, but I made a list and I had 12 teams inside the NWA who could show up. I'm not going to read it, but who could show up out of a potential, you know, probably 16 teams, right? And I discluded champions in that. I left out anyone who should be defending a singles belt. So I'm definitely interested to see who you're going to say, you know, who potentially could show up for this thing. You excited for the Crockett Cup?
Definitely, and it's a lot shorter of a drive, only about a 6-hour drive, so that'll be good. Just booked a hotel today.
Yeah, it's funny because if you look back at the old Crockett Cups, which you know I remember with great nostalgia, they weren't very good, but I love tag team wrestling and I love that pay-per-view. So I'm really looking forward to that pay-per-view myself. But look, this was maybe and for different reasons than probably anybody else out there, the next match was maybe my favorite match on the show. Daisy Kill and Talos, who by the way is 7 feet 325 and can move like a cat.
Doesn't he though?
Yeah, against Captain Badass Trevor Murdoch, he's using that moniker, and Mike Knox. And the two of them, I don't know if they got together for a few days and just worked some stuff out, but for me, the way that they gelled and beat the shit out of Daisy Kill and to some degree Talos in this match as well was just, I had so much fun watching it. It was there was a bit, I don't know if you heard it, Dave, but on the stream, Mike Knox calls, you can hear him call from the apron, and the announce team are talking, but I believe he says something like, "Give him the big boot. We ain't getting paid by the hour here, buddy." It was great. And then Trevor's like, "All right," throws him in and gives him like this crazy spine buster. He almost comes out of his shorts. It was unreal.
Yep.
Could you hear it ring near the ring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on the far side of when that happened, but I mean, you could hear, unless the crowd was roaring, you could hear them talking straight to each other.
Right.
And I mean, it was a good one. It was just a hard hitting match.
It was. Like the tags that they did, the chops that they laid out on Daisy Kill. They did this leg drop spine slingshot combo that I can't describe to you. Go and watch the match. It was like something I hadn't seen before. Talos looked, I thought, decent.
Yeah.
He was a little bit sloppy with Murdoch at one point, trying to get him up and kind of dropped him. But he looked okay overall. And there was a clothesline powerbomb combo, which was reminiscent of the Doomsday Device by Knox and Murdoch, and I thought, well, that's it. And then it wasn't. They ended up doing this high-low combo where and Daisy Kill, like I said, just gets murdered in this one. And I thought this did so much for Mike Knox to like the crowd seemed into him. I thought the association with Murdoch and just like he looked great. He looked like he was having fun, and I thought that they were played up as a real threat, Dave, and that's why I like this match so much. What did you think of it when you were there?
It was a very hard hitting match. It went just around 6 to 7 minutes, but everybody seemed to get their moves in. It showed that they were working together as a tag team. And I mean, when Daisy was in there to take some of the killer moves, but Talos, give him 6-8 months working with these veterans, and there's no stopping him. It's one of these things that it's building up a new team in Trevor and Mike Knox. But I mean, it did look like they were having fun. And Knox, when he was outside, we were waiting in line. He came by, he went to go get something to eat or drink, and he's coming back in, and he's like, "Yep, got to get to work." And he said the same exact thing. We don't get paid by the hour. So He got in there, but I mean, it actually rejuvenated his spirit and his I guess zest for wrestling, that he's actually in there with someone that they can just go out there and have a killer match and have fun.
Yeah,
right.
Not saying the Cardona stuff wasn't.
Oh, we lost Dave. Sam
Using two guys that really they didn't know what to do. Hey, let's put them together. We got Crockett Cup coming up. It's building teams, and I mean, it's overall. I love the match. It was probably one of the better matches on the card.
Yeah, Jeremy, I'm not saying they are these two guys, but they reminded me of Stan Hansen and Steve Williams in that let's just go out there and beat the shit out of these guys. What do you think? Woo! I dug it.
Very, very solid comparison. Knox is somebody that I wasn't very high on whenever he was with Cardona, and he's gotten to display some more of his personality since they've parted ways. Pairing him up with Trevor, like you said, that's Hanson and Dr. Death all over again. Essentially, go out there, kick ass, come back, pump some weights, eat some steaks, call it a damn day.
Right. Yeah. They're like, you know what? Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Like you said there, like Jack Stain and Bulletproof Troop are a pair of guys that they feel like badasses, but they don't have the charisma. That's it. Right. They don't have that, and these two guys seem to instantly get it together.
Yeah.
You know, I just love the tag team moves. Like, you know, you could kind of imagine them in the back, like, put Kill up, I'll come off the top. And I'm sure Daisy was just like, oh my God. But
at the same time, though, that's one of those I've never heard anyone say I would not get into the ring with Mike Knox or Trevor Murdoch because they're just going to beat the shit out of me.
Right.
Yeah. You know, two absolute professionals. So I'm sure it was, I'm sure he may have been a little stiff, but it was probably one hell of a payday for him.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's getting lariated out of their boots like back in the Hanson days.
Yeah.
By no means. Yeah, I just really liked it. And I liked that. If this makes any sense, I liked that I liked it. Like I didn't have to sit there going, what's this? I don't like this, you know. Am I just a harsh mark? You know. No, I was thoroughly entertained by these two guys, and yeah, that was a highlight for me. I think this is where Deals joined Galley and Storm at the commentary desk, and I thought that was going to be a lot more fun than it ended up being.
Yeah.
And just the energy level, just like we said, kind of dropped in the later half of the night. But I like Danny Deals, and I like him on the commentary desk.
Yes.
More than I do Velvet.
Yep.
So there you go. I don't think that's a hot take. I think everybody feels the same way.
I think whenever Deals, Kyle, and Candy did the sit-in for USA, that was great. All three of them gelled really well, and that was a fun commentary table to listen to during that show. And I would like to see them take over commentary responsibilities on USA, just to give Joe and Tim a little bit of a break, you know.
Yeah, you know, maybe USA or something like that. The Reluchador chimes in. My wife, I love not having Velvet. It was nice to have things pronounced correctly. She's like Vladimir. Why does she say that? Vladimir.
Yeah.
I was saying to her just the other day, like, has a director not come up to her between matches or tapings and gone, okay, look, it's Latimer. Just Latimer. Say it correctly. Is no one doing this? Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't as much fun as it was, Dave, when Candy was with Deals, and back when they were doing the commentary with Galley together. She was a good part of that as well. She speaks pretty well, and by the way, she's on Instagram. She's very amusing, and I will have to look up her name at a different time. But what did you think of the commentary if you've gone back and looked at any of this?
It wasn't bad. It was different, but it was just it was long. It was a long night with the pre-show and then the pay-per-view. And it's one of these things. Danny is very knowledgeable, but you don't know what direction he's going to take. Yeah. And I know they'll have a list of these are the matches, and I don't know how far out they have planned what they're going to discuss, or it's just off the cuff. That every once in a while somebody would say something and just there'd really be no response, because right. It may or may not have to do what's going on, that Danny almost speaks in code sometimes.
Right. It doesn't always resonate. Yeah. Lost your audio, Dave.
That if you don't know and he just jumps in the middle, you're like, what's he talking about? that he gives no reference. He just assumes that everybody who's watching knows the story up to this point.
Right.
So I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it's one of those things that sometimes you have to retell the story for people that are new to the product.
Right. You know, and like you said, it's different. It is different for a different point of view that you don't really hear from announcers. So yeah, I mean, it's not what he does, but maybe he ought to be doing it more. EC3 versus your NWA National Heavyweight Champion Scion with Austin Idol for the national title. This is a no G's. We don't know why G's wasn't there, but I think Pollo Del Mar said that she had I don't know, she put a shout out to her and hoped everything was fine, but I don't think that we officially have heard why he wasn't there at this point. So hopefully everything's great with G's. But the power between these two fairly evenly matched, which I thought was a bit odd. EC3 ought to win a power contest, which is not to say Sion's a slouch, but they won't let go of the collar and elbow tie up. They roll around the ring. They roll outside the ring with it. At one point in this match, just for highlights, EC3 goes after Idol. Scion drills him, does this, apologize speech like he thing, the same spot that he did with Homicide a few weeks ago. EC3 made me laugh when he did a warrior spot on the top rope. That was amusing. Look, Dave, you were there, but no one seemed to know who to cheer for here. And, you can call EC3 can call himself the Overman because he's Overman as long as he wants to. And I have no problem with EC3 as a talent. I think he's great. But he's not over. Can't tell me he's over. He's not over. But doesn't mean maybe he should say that he isn't. But anyway, he ends up faking a knee blowout. Scion goes down to get him. Scion gets caught in a submission. New champion. EC3 is a new national heavyweight champion. Dave, what did the crowd think of this particular matchup? Like, again, two guys here I would consider to be heels. Hard to know who to cheer for.
I mean, they really had no idea who to cheer for. They were more down on Scion. And if you know, you know. He is not from parts unknown. But the character, the crowd was really down on him. But putting him against EC3, they really didn't have anybody to cheer for. They were cheering for moves, not for the wrestlers.
Right.
So it was just really strange.
I mean, Jeremy, it was, I think we often say it was what it was when we don't know what to make of it too much. I wasn't super into this one. But was it time, do you think, to take the title off of Scion? And was EC3 the right guy? You were shaking your head there.
Scion has had a nice long run with it. I don't know that EC3 was the right or wrong person to put it on. You know what I mean? It fits for now. He's got gold. He's not going after Tyrus at the moment, so. But he's got gold. I don't know where we go from here with him, though.
Yeah, it sort of puts him in a weird spot. Like, I was getting the impression he was going after Tyrus.
Right. So, but this will be his ticket now for sure if he can hold on to it for a little bit, right? I mean, he's the new number one contender now, right?
I don't know. I mean, that was always a thing back in the day from PWI, and I always looked at it that way. But I don't know the Lightning One era they've ever said that.
Right. So again, that's a known unknown. Where does he go? Where do we go with him now?
Right. It's a bit crazy. Are you still sponsored by Dubby, by the way? I keep holding my hand over this logo.
Not on here, I'm not.
Oh no, okay.
Yeah. Here I'm not.
I love I am not sponsored, but would like to be. I love the Gatorade Zero.
Full disclosure, I couldn't drink the W. I can't drink it anyways. It's got that fake aspartame stuff in it, so that stuff gives me headaches. So I can't really mess with it anyways. And I'm very sensitive to caffeine and stimulants like that. So
right,
I'm good.
Yeah. What was I going to say? We got May Valentine with Father James Mitchell. Well, he says Sal and Gags didn't kiss the boot of the monster Judas, and so I washed my hands of them. Look, James Mitchell sometimes makes me laugh, but he says Kenzie is 5 years removed from the trailer trash from whence she came. If Kenzie's out here to make history, Max doesn't make history. Max erases history.
Man.
He's fun-ish. I don't know, Jeremy. You got something to say about Father James Mitchell? Dave's like,
Yeah.
Father James has been hit and miss with me in the NWA. I used to enjoy him in Impact. Whenever I'd see him pop up on Impact, I always thought he was an interesting character. And he's definitely somebody that I'd like to sit down and watch his lounge act outside of wrestling at some point. But this one was a swing and a miss for me big time. It just fell very flat.
yeah. Willie says Tyrus is the biggest headache in the NWA. Speaking of headaches, Willie does not let too many opportunities to let the world know what he thinks of our NWA World's Heavyweight Champion go by, and I respect that.
Yep.
Dave, what did you think of this? You were kind of stroking your chin there, going, "Huh." It's James Mitchell. What did you think of the segment?
They interviewed him. He said, "We'll take care of Sal and Gags. They'll get what's coming to them down the line." But I mean, like Jeremy said, sometimes it's hit and miss. That you have James Mitchell talking for Max because Max does not just makes noise.
Yeah.
Good. But sometimes less is more, where you just say what you mean and mean what you say. Keep it short and simple.
Yeah, I agree. He can be fun. I would like to just, say, hey, the 80s were a great time when it was, you could do stuff like the Ministry and WWF, or maybe that was the 90s. You could do that kind of thing with The Undertaker in the 80s. Can we just get past this whole, we're vaguely collectively evil and possibly, I don't know, satanic or some demonic entity is behind, can we just move past that and pretend that that's not a thing? Like, I would almost prefer it to be more like we're a bunch of weirdos.
Yeah.
Like we just like weird stuff. But yeah, I mean, hey, there's a segment that you can see online afterwards that has Sal on the stairwell doing the rest of his hair, and Father James Mitchell and Judas are behind him. So it's long after the match, and he's berating him, and it was much better than this one.
Yeah.
James Bell says, I want a long feud for EC3 and Big Daddy Thrill. What do you guys think?
I'm in for it. That would be a hell of a way to elevate him.
Yeah, Mason's got that title shot out of the Battle Royal. So that'd be, I think that'd be fun. Hey, Pam is here. Hey, Pam. What did you miss? Well, we're doing the first half of the pay-per-view, and we're almost all through it. We're doing the second half tomorrow, but we do have a couple of matches left. Pretty Empowered. Roxy and Ella. My wife's favorite, I believe, other than Camille, her favorite wrestler in the NWA is Ella Envy. Against your NWA World Women's Tag Team Champions, M95 as they're called now. Missa Kate, yeah, and Maddie. I said this yesterday. Like, is that a highway? It's a highway, right? Is that what they're named after?
No, I'm like M95. They were both born in 1995.
Oh, Miss and Maddie 95.
Miss and Maddie 95. 1995. Yep.
Look at the professor over here. It's crazy. I'm like, that's a highway in Michigan. I know because my sister used to live in Michigan. But yeah, okay. Well, there you go. Listen, so for this one, Ella takes a pretty good beating early on. It's generally a back and forth match. Some of the highlights were one of those double knee spikes from Ella to the back. Roxy looked pretty good in this one too, I thought. In the end, Ellis gets tossed out of the ring by Maddie, who trips Roxy, and we get Mrs. Kick Fillet for the win. The M95 retain the World Women's Tag Team Championship. I think it was the right call. What did you think, Dave?
I thought keeping the belts on M95, it was the right move. Crockett Cup is all about tag teams. And granted, I don't think they'll have women involved with the Crockett Cup per se. But keeping and building up these teams for the women's tag belts, there's 2 nights of Crockett Cup. There's the actual Crockett Cup, and then you have your champions will be defending their belts. So they can always have 1 or 2 matches with the lady tag teams for a chance at the belts on that Sunday night. So right. Saturday they can have a match, maybe 2 or 3-way match of the women tag teams that are currently or possibly bring in to the NWA. It was the right.
Let me see if this works. It worked last.
It worked a little.
Your feed was amazing, like the best it had been in like 20 minutes, and then it cut almost completely out there, Dave, at the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the back half of what you were saying is that it's probably the right move to leave the titles where they were.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Jeremy, you and my son have something in common. Not a big fan of the type of participant in the last match that we'll talk about for the evening. You got Yabo versus Kratos. Did you watch this one, buddy?
Sure shit didn't. I had better things to do.
Anything but this. Yeah.
Anything but look at a damn clown.
That's right. Hey, look, it's a like I say, my mother for some reason in her old age has like collected clown figurines and clown art, and it is, it is the most terrifying wall that she has in her house. I'm like, you got to get rid of this. This is awful.
Okay, so you remember Poltergeist, right?
Sure.
And the little clown doll that the kid had.
Right.
Growing up, my mother had one that was a miniature replica that was in like this plastic balloon thing, and it sat in confetti, and it would sit there and stare at me for hours. I hated that thing.
God,
I hated it.
Put it in the closet. It's terrible.
It finally disappeared one day. I don't know what happened to
I
it.
have no idea.
I honestly don't. It was gone one day. Thank God.
I saw a story. It's just totally unrelated to wrestling, but I saw a story that you reminded me of once, where a guy didn't like his boss, and they were standing on the platform of a subway platform together, and his boss had a copy of The Exorcist, and he was like, "No, this is an evil book. I'm not going to read it," and threw it on the tracks. And so he went out to a bookstore, bought a copy, and made it all like dirty and muddy, like it had been run over, and put it in his desk at work.
Oh, wow. Oh, that is genius.
You're just lucky the clown didn't show up, I say. That would have been terrible, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, Dave, I'm really interested on your perspective on this, just to cover it. Kratos smokes Yabo with a shoulder block to begin. There's a bit which was like a loaded tie that didn't play well on TV. Some of he does a pretty good twisting flying uppercut. His drop kick was pretty solid. The crowd seemed to like Yabo. Kratos does a nope spot, and which I'm not a big fan of unless you're Samoa Joe and that's your thing. Yeah. Mike says I can't keep quiet. This was fucking stupid. I did like the 2 game changer suplexes. I thought that looked pretty neat. There was some stupid stuff in the middle with a nose reattachment, like the honky nose and stuff like that. Anyway, Kratos pins Yabo after a fairly solid beating. The story being that Yabo can take a lot of pain. Double underhook DDT. I didn't hear what it was called. Kratos gets the win. How did it play with the crowd, Dave? How did it play with you?
I didn't mind. I know what they were going after. It was a local wrestler. Plus, Billy also mentioned that Yabo has a brother.
Like Rough Crossing?
And who knows?
Like
Yeah.
I'm going to drop out here. I lost about 90% of that.
Can you hear me?
We can now.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it was what it was. Kratos was very strong. He was just tossing him like a rainbow left and right. But Billy had mentioned on last night's program that Yabo does have a brother, Rufo. So you may see a tag team of clowns at the Crockett Cup. Who knows?
Right. Yep. Rough Crossing, I think his name was, the brother, right?
Yeah.
Interesting name. Hey, Mike is going all in on the hating of this particular match. It was, he said, it was the White Wish sober version of Homie the Clown. It didn't belong on a effing NWA pay-per-view. Just put it on Power or USA. Dave, do you use an iPhone? If so, that's what screws up StreamYard. It's a recent problem, just the last couple of weeks. Your feed's always been pretty good, Dave.
So I don't know. I may just. I know it's been trying to do upbeat, so that may be it. I may just have to turn off everything and reset.
Could be. What did he say? Anyway, I said what I did above. Fuck that shit. I didn't pay $25 to see this fucking low budget clown. I don't care who knows. That's it. We're done.
We're done.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know, guys. It's not what I came for.
No.
But that's the last one we're going to review for the night. Let's just go through the you know what? Who cares? We all know what the pay-per-view was. We know that Chris Adonis did not win the 10 pounds of gold. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. We know that, other than EC3, that was it. Polka Dot Pam, who's here, was there as well. It was a bunch of title retentions beyond that. This first half having reviewed, the second half we've all watched it. What was your final grade? And I'll ask DK and Jaden tomorrow night for the pay-per-view. Watching it from home, Jeremy, with the stream, with the lighting, the audio, with the lateness of it. What was your final grade? Did you like it? Was it in the middle? Did it suck?
D-.
Ooh, swing and a miss for the NWA.
Yeah, it like I said earlier, it felt like a filler in between her pay-per-view that wasn't really pay-per-view quality, both on the booking end and the streaming part of it. It was just a big swing and a miss for me.
Wow, that's lower than I thought you were going to say, but fair enough. And
it's higher than what I was going to give it an F-, but the Trevor, Mike Knox, Daisy Kill Talos match was really solid. The Natalia Markova match was solid. I know that they were on the pre-show, but it's still part of the pay-per-view at the end of the day. And those were two redeeming matches for me.
I'm going to ask you in a sec, Dave, because you had a different experience being right there on the ground. But just to look at this, Polka Dot Pam says she'll join tomorrow with her thoughts, but tonight she'll say that Adonis looked fantastic, and his time will come for the 10 pounds of gold. You know it.
Yep.
I would love Chris Adonis as the holder of the 10 pounds of gold. Mrs. Wood says, you're right, Pam. Chris Adonis brought a beautiful aesthetic to the night. Raluca also gives it a C, but when it cut off, yeah, she was just done with it. She was like, I'm going to bed. So it's frustrating. Yeah, but she agrees with you, Jeremy. Mike says, indie startup having a show on ITV. And yeah. Willie says you agreed. He agrees. D- from Willie. So Dave, you're there live. What you didn't have the feed problems. You had a different experience, which I hope was more positive than what we had. What would you give it overall?
I mean, experience-wise and being there live, I give it maybe a C or a C+.
Okay.
With some of the matches, I mean, some of them, there was maybe one or two matches that I wouldn't have had at all, that they just took up time where you could have told a better story. Nothing against having Bully Ray there. I mean, he's a name and people know him. But you use what you need to do to further the story along by putting it on Power USA. Those are your TV programs. But I mean, overall, I'd say probably about a C.
I think that's you're both fair. You're both valid. I hope other people liked it more. but I think both of your ratings are valid from the two different perspectives. I thought, for me, it was probably about a C. But it was just, I can certainly be talked into a D. You couldn't talk me up, would be into it anyway. Mike says, Markova, good solid wrestler. However, for love that all that is holy, stop projecting your face, for heaven's sake. Look like that freaking puppet madam from Wayland Flowers.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
It immediately clicked in my head.
deep cut from Media Mike. Pam says, I liked it more than a C, but agree there were a few slow moments. Yeah, like there was just so much to it with the lighting and the audio and the venue, and just the energy of the crowd, which I think had to do with a long day that got very long when you were watching it at home, or people in the crowd. Even the announcing just seemed to slowly go, and they did their best, but it was what it was. We'll do the back half tomorrow on the Alliance guys with DKM and Jaden. Now, we're going to do championship wrestling from Jeremy, but you're doing a different format this time around, I believe. Am I correct?
You are correct, sir.
So we've got Derby City Wrestling joining the United Wrestling Network, and I am talking at length because I do that when I'm searching for videos, just like this one.
I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
The following is a presentation of the United Wrestling Network.
It's time for championship wrestling from Jeremy.
All right, man. Listen, I thought about this, and I should have said something before the show, before I turn it over to you. I don't know if a lot of people understand what the United Wrestling Network is. Maybe you can give them just a blurb about how it was similar to the NWA back in the day.
So the United Wrestling Network is operated by Dave Marquez, and he has somewhat of a territory vision. We've got Championship Wrestling presented by Car Shield, which is in California, typically in Irvine, now at the Comedy Store, I believe. Then he ventured out with Championship Wrestling from Arizona, Championship Wrestling from Atlanta. I think the status of both of those are currently in limbo at the moment, while he attempts to kick off Derby City Wrestling in the Louisville area. And fantastic first show. Fantastic first show for Derby City Wrestling.
Really, just support here. Derby City Wrestling is good, Willie said. Yeah. I liked it. I know you're going to talk about it. The Reluchador also thought it was decent. She enjoyed it more than she thought she would.
Yeah. And then he also is partnered up with Dustin Starr out of Memphis Wrestling, and kind of to expand a little bit on the territory. But Dustin has full creative control over that and the route that they take with their champions and all of that. There is talk of possible seeing some Memphis talent and some Car Shield talent down the road and some Derby City, but that's still down the road a little bit. But I'll inform you more of that as I find out more. This week I will be giving you my matches of the week from each show, and that is what I will do moving forward. And we start off with Memphis Wrestling, and this was the mid-card match. It was not the main event, but it definitely could have been the main event. And this was Lince Dorado versus Zay Washington was my match of the week for Memphis. Zay was very impressive throughout this match. Lince has been everywhere from WWE to New Japan to MLW and Impact, and showed why he has been in some of the top promotions in the world. And to his credit, Zay showed why he will be in any of those promotions sooner than later, I feel.
I had no idea. Sorry to cut you off. I had no idea about Zay Washington and how good he was. How good he is. Anyway, carry on.
So good. Zay held nothing back and pushed Lindsay to his absolute limit, forcing Lindsay to throw everything he had at Zay, including a beautiful shooting star press that Zay was able to roll out of the way of. In the end, Zay rolled through to reverse a Hurricane Rana pin attempt and got a huge victory over Lindsay Dorado in the end. I completely shocked the crowd, shocked Zay, shocked Lindsay, but at the end, Lindsay helped raise his hand. Good show of sportsmanship.
Yeah. I like that bit, but from Zay too, sitting up, going, "I got him.
I got him. Yeah.
That was very good.
That was the cherry on top for me. We then go to Championship Wrestling presented by Car Shield, and
Dave Marquez is a genius.
Yes, and I will touch on that here momentarily. For this match, this one was a tough choice. I was torn between this match and a really good tag match between Reno Scum and Turn 'Em Down, people. Beef Candy! But I chose this one. It was the match between Willie Mack and Jack Banning, the United Wrestling Network Television Championship. I chose this for a few different reasons. Jack has been able to capture what Billy may have been looking for with the Miserably Faithful and doing it without a manager. Because it's just that.
That's a really good comparison.
Yeah. And wrestling against Willie Mack, who held the title for 238 days in one run, and securing a win would be a huge notch in the straitjacket strap of Jack Banning. As the match started, Willie delivered some thunderous chops to Jack's chest, which he seemed to enjoy. Not like gags, though. Jack took it to the outside, and Willie followed him, much to his detriment, as this allowed Jack to gain the upper hand and use some of the outside ring apparatus to his advantage. When he brought the action back into the ring, Jack was able to keep the pressure on for a while, but being in the ring with Willie Mack, you're never really in complete control until the match is over and your hand has been raised. Willie hit a clothesline, followed up with a spinning heel kick. He scoop slammed Jack and then landed a big leg drop on him. After the Samoan drop, Willie kicked up and went for a top rope 6-star, but Zicky Dice popped up out of nowhere and grabbed Willie's ankle. This gave Jack just enough time to recover a little bit more and roll out of the way. Banning then locked on the guillotine and choked out Willie. There was no tap out from Willie, which I appreciated and I liked. The camera then cuts to Zicky Dice, who says that if he can't have a championship, no one can.
Yeah.
So Zicky's got something up his sleeve, and I'm interested to see where this goes. We then go to the premiere of Derby City Wrestling, and the show was the star of the week, as it was its debut. And as the great Billy Crystal would say, it looked marvelous.
Yeah.
It really did. The setup was very professional looking and had a big time vibe to it. The show started out with Dave Marquez, the Pope, and Rocco Bellagio, who was the longest reigning OVW champion at one point, I believe. We got matches between Willie Mack and former recently exiled Championship Wrestling presented by Car Shield, Lord Crew.
Yeah.
Tag team action between Audacity and Infrared, which are local talents that we were introduced to, and put on a really good tag match. I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And then in the main event, we had Moose versus Aaron Williams, who I was unfamiliar with, but excited to learn more about. He had kind of an Alex DeGraff from Clockwork Orange vibe to him, and a little bit of Magic Jake Dumas thrown in there. I kind of dug it. My synopsis for the week: Dustin Starr and David Marquez are making moves in the wrestling business, and at every step of the way, they're doing it right. Do not sleep on the UWN. Dustin is constantly bringing in veteran names to not only help put over upcoming talent, but they also sit in on their training classes and have seminars for all the Memphis crew to impart as much knowledge to them as they can to help them succeed in this business. And Mr. Marquez has put together arguably the best tag team roster of any promotion in my opinion, and a fantastic roster of talent, period, as well as bringing in established names to elevate his talent when needed. And his eye for production value is unmatched for me by anyone today. And my closing statement, if you're not watching UWN, I hope that all your soups are cold and your vichyssoise is lukewarm.
No one wants a lukewarm vichyssoise. Well done. Some comments here. Dave Marquez, a genius. Willie also says, Willie Mack the Knife, former NWA National Heavyweight Champion. Yes, he was. Still moves like a cat.
So smooth.
Still looks like he's high 285, something like that. Like he looks the same, man. And
yeah,
he looks great. Willie Mac and Cheese. Yeah, man, we love Willie Mack. Derby City looked a lot like Hollywood.
Yeah.
Or Championship Wrestling from Car Shield. I don't get why Championship Wrestling from Hollywood doesn't use their own YouTube page. They put everything on Memphis's right now. Like, I guess it's a support thing.
That is kind of a rub. That's given a little rub.
Yeah.
Funneling the traffic that Hollywood had before Memphis started up to the Memphis channel just gives that little rub to Dustin and them down there. And it works. There is a lot of bleed over from the Memphis program to the Hollywood program. I'm in those chats every weekend, and it's always the same groups of people, so there's bleed over from it. And
well, Willie Mack from this week, right?
Yeah.
He was in Championship Wrestling, and he was in Derby.
Yep.
So excited to see the Pope.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
And, not that I want to mark out for the production all the time, but yeah, excited to see Dave Marquez as well back on the stick.
Yes.
And, even their guys, like, they start off, they present it. I'm gushing for the UWN right now, but they present it right off the bat, like, Gilbert Corsi from the UWN, world headquarters or whatever.
Yep.
You're going to see this tonight, that tonight, and this tonight. Let's go to those matches. I look forward to the day, though, when Memphis puts the UWN logo up and starts bringing in the UWN World Champion and stuff like that.
Yeah, me too. Same. And I also like that with the UWN, they have that opening role where you get an idea of who you're going to be seeing. Corsi's already told you. Now you get a face with that name as you get the opening credit roll.
Right.
So I enjoy that aspect of the production value as well.
Right. And Derby City, in case anybody doesn't know, Louisville, Kentucky. So you're not gonna find a more hotbed of wrestling. Well, I mean, there's others, but that is a hotbed of wrestling right down in there. So the crowd was hot.
Yep.
Everybody was having a great time. The production value was great. The wrestling was great. I feel like I wish the NWA were here on all of those points.
Yes.
From
yes.
production to just the crowd being hot and doing it that way. I feel like they're doing what the NWA ought to be doing, but who knows what happens down the road with both of those two groups. Excited to hear more next week. So thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate that, buddy.
Yep.
We go now into our segment. Let's talk about the Crockett Cup and
meat and taters.
Yeah, that's right. Who might show up at the Crockett Cup. Let's talk to the fantasy book. I'm going to put him there now. There you go. Look at that. I'm going to take down that logo. Dave. Can Dave hear us? He looks frozen. There he is. There we go. Let me get that brand up. Dave, the Crockett Cup. You have some thoughts on who might show up at the Crockett Cup this particular year?
Yes, and unfortunately, it's not really any big names, but it's some teams that I'd like to see given a chance to at least be associated with the name Crockett Cup. Right now, currently, I mean, you were talking and saying that you had a list of tag teams, and I mean, the NWA is quickly building up some tag teams. You have your champions, La Rebellion and Country Gentlemen already.
Yeah.
You have the Savages. You have the Fixers. You have Blunt Force Trauma. You have Magnum Muscle. The Spectaculars are, let's say, they're not a joke anymore. They're being featured a little more serious. The Now was recently at the tapings. Hopefully they'll be involved. Daisy Kill and Talos, they went against Murdoch and Knox. 2 new teams. Throw them in the Crockett. Teams right there, if you include Hawks Airy. There's several teams. There's several teams that I'd like to see added. Plus, there's also a couple teams that at the TV tapings, I'm not going to say who they are, but there is a couple spoilers. And in the next couple weeks, we'll see if they're featured on TV on the YouTube channel. It's your champion and his recent contender for the championship belt, Tyrus and.
Oh, hang on, because you cut out on me. Tyrus and who?
Okay, can you hear me? Tyrus and Adonis. That they're working together. So who knows down the line? I don't know if the tag, if the 10 pounds of gold or the 12 pounds of gold is going to be defended, but he's going to be involved in the Crockett Cup one way or another. With another member that I talked about a couple ago, that why not just throw them together? Not really sure what Max was doing going for the women's TV title. Max and Judias have wrestled as a tag team, and we may see them at the Crockett Cup. So there's roughly 12 to 13. Now, just one of my personal favorites, I'm not sure if AEW and ROH are allowing their wrestlers outside bookings, but I think the OGK have some unfinished business. So I'd like to bring them back. And if anything, it gives a bump to whatever team that they're facing, whether they win or lose. Now, a classic NWA style tag team is from the West Coast, from the Oregon and Washington area. You may have seen them on Championship Wrestling, the Midnight Heat. They are definitely NWA style in their appearance, the way they wrestle. They are a tag team that is established. They may not be well known, but they're an established tag team. They're tag team, world tag team, and United Tag Team champions. So they're 7-time champions overall for the NWA before the Lightning era. They were at last year's Crockett Cup, but they didn't win to the buy-in. So hopefully this year they can bring them in, and it can be redemptions for last year's loss, and they can at least make it to hopefully the quarterfinals. They're just under the top 100 tag teams for last year, coming in at 98. Money, Power, and Respect.
Oh, that'd be great.
Pollo Del Mar from North California. Why not bring them in? You already have Pollo there. Pollo and Thrillbilly are doing things. Bring a tag team in. For several years, and they're good. Now, everybody, well, not everybody, but they've been talking about Bully Rays in the NWA. Devon got canned by the WWE. There needs to be a Team 3D. Bring them back. Well, if Devon is available to wrestle, because he's had several medical problems.
He has.
So my thought is, if he either comes in, if he's unable to wrestle, he has twin sons.
Yep.
Bring Terrence and Terrell in and have Bully feature a Bully's team, a 3D team. Have Bully as a have him come in and manage his sons in the Crockett Cup. The Crockett Cup is basically the only thing that the Dudleys really they don't have on their resume. So whether it be them or maybe Team 3D 2.0, the Sons, they could do that. Now, my last team is a former NWA tag team. They were on the very first Power episode. They're a very big tag team, and they're local to the Winston-Salem area. Do you remember the Dawsons?
Oh, I'd love to see the Dawsons. Love the Dawsons.
Love to see them back.
They have a past with the NWA, plus they're in the general vicinity. And any of these teams will come to the Crockett Cup to see them. Now, one of the things, Crockett Cup is taking place in Winston-Salem, and that's where WrestleCade takes place every year over the Thanksgiving Day weekend. It's a very big wrestling territory. It is classic NWA territory. AML is their local promotion. Hopefully we'll be able to see the NWA work with them. But AML Wrestling features former and current NWA talent. Ella Envy and Kenzie Page have wrestled there separately and as Pretty Empowered. AJ Kazana's wrestled there. Gustavo, George South has wrestled there. C.W. Anderson and the Dawsons wrestle in that area. So it's one of those things that if they use the local talent, some of the local have history or the NWA style, bring them in. Right now, FTR just re-signed with AEW and ROH, so they're not going anywhere. The NWA can use these, I'm not going to say lower level teams, but they're not as well known.
Right.
But they fit in with what the NWA is trying to do. There's brother tag teams, there's I mean, tag teams that they're throwbacks. Heat Seekers are throwbacks to NWA. Midnight Heat, throwbacks to NWA back in the 80s and early 90s. So bring these tag teams in, use them, and then if you have tapings, use them after the tapings to wrap up the story. If things work out, you may want to new teams, and then you don't have to force together tag teams in the NWA. If they work out, they work out. If they don't, they go back to being single stars.
Wow.
I mean, that's just my thoughts on it.
We dropped out of the stream a couple times here because it seems to help your stream go through. Jeremy's just sitting in the green room right now because because we're both kind of like dropping in and out. But you were much better there, so that's something to think about offline. But I mean, there's some amazing ideas there. Team 3D I never thought of. The Dawsons and Power, Money, Respect just seems like the most natural fit.
Yeah.
And I don't want Tyrus and Adonis as a tag team in the Crockett Cup because for me, the Crockett Cup, being as special as it was always, here's a tournament, night 1. Here's the tournament, night 2. Ric Flair defends the World Heavyweight Championship against insert name here.
Yeah.
And then you got your winners, your finals at the end of the night. And that's what I want. I want Tyrus to defend the world's heavyweight title. I want EC3 to defend the national title. I want TV's fine. But that's what I want. I want Kerry Morton to, on my list, the only team that I had as a potential thing, and I didn't have any of the ones you did, so kudos to you, Dr. Scooby, was maybe Kerry Morton and Joe Alonzo.
Ooh.
Kerry's been making sort of a heel turn or signs of one in the past little bit, right?
In that episode of Power that we got served up yesterday, the little backstage segment kind of alluded to Ricky coming in and trying to cool those heels a little bit. So yeah,
it's true. It's like you listen to your dad. It's like, it's my dad. What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
but you can see it coming. I like the way they're selling it. Willie's got a couple of ideas. How about Bret Michaels, the Gun Show, and Big Swole from Memphis Wrestling?
Memphis Muscle. Yeah,
there you go. Those guys are massive. And have you considered the Von Erichs? Are they locked up anywhere, or are they still free agents?
I believe they're still free agents, guys. I
have not heard anything as to if they're still with MLW, or I mean they're there, but nobody knows what they're doing. I haven't seen them featured on any type of wrestling in at least the last, since last year.
Yeah.
The only other team I would love to see, well, not the only other, because I'd love the teams that Jeremy introduced me to, Reno Scum, Beef Candy, or any of those, Midnight Heat, like you mentioned, the Mighty Don't Kneel, or the Mighty Zaddies, or, the Wolf Set, or whatever combo of that you want to do, the Bodega. I'd love to see any of those teams. But I would really like to save a spot for Mark Briscoe and I'm going to say Jay Lethal. Mark Briscoe and whoever the hell he wants to bring.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about him coming back, but I went and checked online. Mark has said he will wrestle in trios or singles matches, but he will no longer do any tag teams because, his brother was his tag partner. And that's
You know what? You mentioned that last week, and I completely forgot, and I totally respect that from him.
Yeah.
I would like to see Mark Briscoe at the pay-per-view. So maybe he comes out just to go, here's the Crockett Cup, maybe presents it to the winner, maybe does a Jamin Pugh memorial spot, 10 bells, whatever it's going to be, maybe we rename, like you said a week or two ago, the Crockett Cup.
That I am a big fan of right there. Renaming it to the Briscoe Cup. I'm proponent of that.
Yeah. Dave, fantastic as always. You always give me something to think about that I haven't heard. I think is Dave talking? He is. Go ahead, Dave. Say that again.
Oh, I'm just saying that the NWA, if they're smart, will do a tribute to the Briscoes as being last year's winners. And I hope they do the right thing. I mean, I'm not sure if Mark would be able to come to the Crockett Cup to present the cup, but I mean, they have to do a memorial of some kind for Jay.
Yeah.
And for all of the things with AEW that you hear that we don't like or whatever, Tony Khan does seem like the kind of boss who'd be like, yeah, go and do that.
Yeah.
That's something that you should do. So hopefully that happens. Look, guys, we're at the end. It's an hour 45. Not bad.
Not bad for an hour-long podcast.
That's right. It's 90 minutes of action, or no, wait, almost 120 minutes of action if we go to the top of the hour in a 60-minute show. What else can you expect? Tomorrow night, you get the two original Alliance guys and me called up from the bench before coming back to join you guys here in on our own little show covering for J. Cal, 8 p.m. Eastern. Might have to get a nap in. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, the Alliance Guys podcast with me and DKM and Jaden, and we'll talk about the back half of the 312 pay-per-view. We'll talk about Power, I guess, a little bit. Power was what it was this week, and then Jay will be back, as far as I know, next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. It's the hour before Power. It's the pre-party with J. Cal, the Vanguard show from the network. Oh, hey, here's one from Willie. The Skull Crushers should be in the Crockett Cup.
Yeah.
Would have no complaints with that. That's for sure. That's it. And that's all. Thank you, everybody who came and watched and participated. And we always appreciate you guys. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.